The teasers dropped. The comeback was in full swing. The fandom was streaming. And then, the timeline just went completely silent.
Yeah, another notice from the agency.
Exactly, another notice. And in an instant, the K-pop world was turned upside down as a beloved Maknae stepped back from the stage. Welcome to StarScope K-Report. Join us as we ride the Hallyu wave, uncovering the biggest K-pop comebacks, shocking industry controversies, and major K-drama updates. From internet-breaking rumors to historic chart milestones, we dive deep into the world of Korean entertainment.
Right. And our mission for today's deep dive is to unpack the really heartbreaking August 2026 announcement regarding Billlie Haruna. We're going to trace the group's intense and honestly pretty tragic string of hiatuses.
Yeah.
And we really need to examine the dark reality of idol burnout, especially during this brutally hot summer comeback season.
I am so glad we are covering this today because, the timeline has been an absolute mess of emotions.
Oh, for sure.
And there is so much more happening beneath the surface here than just, a simple quote-unquote health hiatus.
Yeah.
So, okay, on August 22, 2026, Mystic Story dropped the notice that literally every single stand reads.
Yeah, that black square on social media.
The black square. They announced that Haruna is halting all activities due to worsening health. And for anyone who isn't a dedicated Belllie've, which is the fandom name, you have to understand the specific weight that Haruna carries in this group.
Right.
She is their Japanese Maknae. Born in 2006. She's so young.
She is. And, that means we really need to look at what being the Maknae actually entails in this industry. It isn't just an affectionate title for the youngest member, right? In South Korean culture, which operates on a very strict age-based hierarchy, the Maknae is, fundamentally at the bottom of the power dynamic.
Right. They can't just say no to things.
Exactly. They have the least seniority, the least authority to push back against management. And culturally, they carry this immense pressure to be the bright, energetic, baby that the older members and the fans just dote on constantly.
Yeah, you have to be on all the time.
Right. So when a Maknae collapses, it really shatters that protective illusion for the fandom.
That cultural context is so crucial.
Yeah.
Because she's famous for her subvocal and dance skills, and she just has this signature charm. Like, she has a little mole under her eye.
Yeah.
And the fandom lovingly calls her the Turtle Maknae. So seeing her step back has completely devastated the fans because they feel like the system just completely failed to protect the most vulnerable member.
Yeah, it's a heavy blow.
So what are the actual facts of the hiatus? Like, what did Mystic Story actually say?
Well, according to the official statements, and this is synthesizing coverage from Soompi and All Pop, the agency kept it very clinical.
Always do.
Yeah. They stated that doctors advised Haruna needs, quote, sufficient rest and stability. And because of this, Billlie will temporarily promote as a 6-member group. So that's Seon, Xion, Tsuki, Moonsua, Haram, and Suhyun. They are now carrying the entire promotional load.
Sufficient rest and stability. It's such a sanitized corporate phrase,
It totally is.
You don't just suddenly need rest and stability out of nowhere.
Yeah.
We have to look at the pressure cooker that they were in.
Yeah.
Because Billlie just had a massive comeback in May 2026.
Right. With their full album.
Yeah. The Collective Soul and Unconscious Chapter 2. And this wasn't just like a standard seasonal release. This was ending a 1.5-year-long hiatus.
Which in K-pop years is an eternity.
A literal eternity. The anticipation was sky high.
And the schedule really reflected that desperation to make up for lost time. Their summer itinerary was just gruelingly packed. And we aren't just talking about standard music show promotions.
Which are already terrible.
Right, which already involve, pre-recording starting at 3 in the morning, hair and makeup at 1 a.m.
Sitting in freezing waiting rooms all day.
Exactly. But they were also booked for major outdoor festival performances in extreme humidity. And perhaps most intensely, they participated in a 10-kilometer marathon with fans.
Wait, okay. Let's unpack this.
Yeah.
10K marathon.
Yeah, at the City Forceful RUN and FE.
Is it just the heat wave, or is the relentless K-pop comeback machine to blame here? Because it sounds like agencies are making them run a marathon inside a sauna while hitting perfect high notes.
It's honestly a combination of both, but the physiological demand now is completely different compared to, say, the second or even third generation of K-pop.
Because the choreo is so much harder, right?
Exactly. We have to look at the evolution of the choreography and the schedule density. 10 years ago, summer comebacks were heavily vocal-focused with relatively grounded choreography.
Yeah, like Sistar just doing the little hand movements, looking great.
Right. But today, 4th and 5th generation K-pop choreography is essentially high-intensity interval training. It's acrobatic, it requires constant level changes, and they are doing this while singing live.
Which is insane.
And furthermore, the schedule has mutated. In the past, idols had downtime between shows. Now, every spare minute is spent filming TikTok dance challenges with other groups.
Oh my gosh, yes. The TikTok challenges.
Right. Shooting behind-the-scenes vlogs, doing live streams. The camera literally never turns off.
So they are operating on maybe 3 hours of sleep, adhering to strict comeback diets to maintain their visuals.
Yeah.
Right. And then they are running a 10K marathon.
Yep.
And a 10K where they can't just put on headphones and zone out.
Right.
They have to maintain parasocial interactions. They have to smile and wave at fans who are filming them the entire time.
While running.
While running in the dead of summer.
Which brings us to the broader industry crisis. KBZoom actually recently published a report on this exact phenomenon. South Korea is facing record-breaking summer heat.
It's been awful.
It has. And because of this relentless modern comeback machine, it is taking a massive public toll. We're seeing a huge spike in heat-related illnesses across multiple agencies. For instance, ITZY's Yuna was recently hospitalized with a high fever and inflammation.
Oh man, I remember reading eyewitness accounts from that week saying Yuna looked too weak to even stand up straight before the cameras rolled.
It's happening across the board. Alpha Drive 1's Sangyeon had to undergo vocal cord surgery due to strain and dryness, and those are conditions that are exacerbated by extreme heat and dehydration.
Wow.
ONF's Itaehan is modifying his activities due to a shoulder injury. So when you combine intense modern choreography, heavy stage costumes designed for aesthetics rather than breathability, severe heat, and chronic sleep deprivation...
Your body just gives up.
Basically, yeah. The human body's autonomic nervous system essentially hits a failsafe and shuts down.
But it's not just physical exhaustion, though. If you're listening to this, you might be thinking, well, they chose this career. They know it's a grind.
Right.
But what you have to realize about Haruna's specific situation is the immense, lingering psychological trauma she is carrying.
Absolutely.
And that is actually a perfect transition. But what makes Haruna's health hiatus even more alarming is a terrifying incident that happened to her just a year ago.
Yeah. We really have to rewind the timeline to July 2025. Because this wasn't a twisted ankle from a dance practice. This was a severe breach of personal safety.
When the news broke back then, I remember the fandom reaction. It was sheer, unadulterated terror.
It was horrifying. According to reporting by the Times of India, an intruder used physical force to damage the front door and broke into Haruna's residence.
Oh my God.
And she was only 19 years old at the time. The intruder broke in and directly threatened her safety. Now, Mystic Story's immediate response was swift, thankfully.
Yeah.
They called the police, relocated Haruna to a safe place, took her to the hospital for evaluation, and promised strict legal action without leniency. Haruna then took a hiatus for psychological recovery.
I want to really dig into the mechanics of why that is so devastating for an idol. Because your entire job requires you to be visible, right? To smile, to be accessible to the public, to attend fan signs where strangers are literally inches away from your face.
Right.
The one and only place you are supposed to be safe, where the cameras are off and the public cannot reach you, is your home.
Exactly.
And when that gets violently compromised at 19 years old, your brain loses its only safe haven.
That is precisely how trauma compounds. Physiologically, when an individual experiences a home invasion, their amygdala becomes hyperreactive. Their baseline cortisol levels, the stress hormone, remain constantly elevated because the brain believes it is under continuous threat.
So you're just always on edge.
Always. You don't just take a few months off, return to a stage with thousands of screaming people, and pretend your nervous system is completely healed.
Well, of course not.
When you take a nervous system that is already flooded with cortisol and subject it to the acute physical stress of a summer comeback, severe calorie deficits, and extreme heat, the immune system just tanks.
Wow.
So the worsening health the agency cited is really the inevitable biological result of this environment.
And the fans knew this. Like the reactions from KNETs and international fans during the 2025 break-in were completely unified. Netizens kept pointing out that Haruna is known as the softest, sweetest soul in the group.
He really is.
There was this one fan who shared a story about going to a fan sign, and the fan was freaking out and shaking so badly from nerves. And Haruna just gently reached out and held their hand to calm them down.
Oh.
To think someone would violently target a person like that. Fans were demanding that the perpetrator face maximum jail time and that the agency massively overhaul their security protocols.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture, if we look at Billie's history, Haruna's situation is part of a much larger, darker pattern within the group.
Yeah, it really is.
The safety net at the agency seems fundamentally compromised because this group has a tragically long history of hiatuses.
It's honestly unprecedented. I mean, Moonsua had to take 2 separate hiatuses. The first was deeply personal and devastating. She stepped back after the tragic passing of her brother, Moonbin of Astro. And then she had to take a second hiatus later on for her own health concerns.
And Soohyun also took a health hiatus around the same time. There was a prolonged period where Billlie, which is a 7-member group, was promoting with only 5 members.
Because both Moonsua and Soohyun were too unwell to participate.
Exactly.
So, as fans, we're looking at this timeline. Moonsua twice, Soohyun and now Haruna twice. It raises a really uncomfortable question. Is this just an unbelievably tragic string of horrible luck? Or is this a failure in how the agency protects its idols' physical and mental health?
It's a valid question.
Because right now, it feels like we were watching a system collapse in real time. By the way, if you love staying updated on your favorites and deep diving into the realities of the industry, make sure you subscribe to StarScope K Report. We've got even bigger scoops ahead.
We definitely do. And to understand whether this is a structural failure, we actually have to look at the financial reality of the company itself.
Right.
Because the pressures these girls are facing aren't just coming from stalkers or the summer heat, they are coming straight from the boardroom.
Yeah. A deep dive into the Rose/Kpop subreddit really pulled back the curtain on this. Fans were reacting to Haruna's latest hiatus announcement, and they resurfaced a shocking revelation about the internal pressures the group has been facing behind closed doors.
Yeah, it stems from a detail shared by member Tsuki on a variety show. She revealed that Mystic Story had essentially given the girls an ultimatum.
So messed up.
Very. They were told that their previous comebacks, specifically the promotions for their tracks Work and ZP, would be their absolute last if they couldn't pull in the necessary numbers.
Disbandment. A literal disbandment threat hanging right over their heads while they are forced to smile on stage and tell fans how much fun they're having. Tsuki confessed that they are never praised for their hard work. They are never told they are doing a good job. It is just constant, heavy pressure to hit a sales metric or they lose their dream entirely. Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because why is the agency pushing them this hard?
Well, this brings us to a crucial piece of the Kpop puzzle, which is the brutal economics of being a mid-tier agency. We need to look at how the return on investment, or ROI, actually works in this industry.
Okay, lay it on us.
If you are part of the big 4, so HYBE, SMYG, or JYP, your agency has massive corporate backing. You have diverse revenue streams, a built-in audience. A comeback that underperforms might be a disappointment, sure, but it's essentially a tax write-off. The agency survives.
But Mystic Story isn't the big 4.
Far from it. Think of a mid-tier agency like a tech startup running entirely on venture capital. Producing a K-pop comeback costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. You have to pay for the music producers, the choreographers, the music video directors, the stylists, the physical album manufacturing.
And the marketing.
Yes, the marketing. If that comeback doesn't immediately go viral and generate massive album sales, touring revenue, and brand deals, the agency's bank account hits 0.
Wow.
And Mystic Story took a huge financial hit recently when their boy group disbanded. Currently, the agency relies almost entirely on their band Lucy to stay afloat financially.
Right, they just had that huge concert.
Exactly. Lucy recently sold out the KSPO Dome with 25,000 fans, which is phenomenal. But it means they are essentially keeping the lights on for the entire company.
So the idols in Billlie aren't just performing to achieve their dreams. They are highly leveraged corporate assets, carrying the weight of the entire company's financial survival on their shoulders.
Yep.
When the agency tells them, this is your last chance, they're basically saying, if you don't sell enough albums, our staff loses their jobs.
And this financial desperation explains the next massive controversy surrounding Mystic Story, because they have recently waded into some very turbulent waters regarding their creative decisions,
Whoa.
specifically involving the use of artificial intelligence.
This has been everywhere on social media. The agency has been using AI in their promotional materials and content, and it has caused a massive divide in the fandom, like a huge divide.
Yeah. And to understand why a company does this, we have to look at the mechanism of cost cutting. High-quality teaser images, concept art, and music video assets normally require hiring graphic design teams, 3D modelers, and visual effects artists.
Which is super expensive.
Right. That can cost tens of thousands of dollars. By using generative AI, the agency can bypass those human artists and generate promotional assets for a fraction of the cost in a fraction of the time.
But the fans noticed immediately. And to break down the reaction impartially here, because sources show a very clear split, the international fan community has been highly vocal and deeply critical of the AI usage.
Very critical.
Their perspective is that K-pop is an intensely visual and artistic medium. So using AI detracts from the artistic integrity of the concept and cheapens the final product that fans are, paying good money for.
Right. On the domestic side, however, the reaction from Hiatus has been somewhat different. Many domestic fans have actually come to the defense of the artists themselves.
Right.
Their argument is quite pragmatic. The use of AI is a corporate executive decision made in a boardroom. It isn't the girls' fault that their agency is trying to cut corners. So these fans maintain their trust in the artists' vocal and dance talents, urging people not to boycott the group just because the agency is struggling financially.
It is a messy, complicated situation, and the artists are caught right in the crossfire of public opinion.
They really are.
And when you synthesize all of this information, the reality of Haruna's life right now is staggering. Let's just look at the full picture. She is a 20-year-old Maknae. She is working her body to the bone, learning intense aerobic choreography. She is performing on stage under the constant looming threat that her group will be disbanded if they don't sell enough albums. She's doing this while her agency is being blasted online for cutting costs with AI. And she is trying to navigate all of this while her nervous system is still recovering from a violent home invasion.
It is the ultimate pressure cooker. The mental bandwidth required to process a trauma of that magnitude is immense. When that bandwidth is hijacked by the existential dread of losing your career and your physical reserves are depleted by a grueling summer schedule, collapse isn't just a possibility, it is a biological certainty.
It's so sad. And we've spent a lot of time talking about the agency's financial desperation, the extreme weather, and the trauma the idols endure. But coming up, what role do the BUE, the fandom, play in all of this?
Right. What's fascinating here is if we step back and analyze the Hallyu wave as a global phenomenon, the duality is striking. From the outside, looking at the high-definition music videos and the perfectly synchronized stages, it looks flawless. It is cinematic, polished, and endlessly entertaining. But the internal mechanics of that machine require an immense human sacrifice.
They really do.
It relies on the absolute physical, emotional, and psychological exhaustion of young people to keep the gears turning.
And this leads to a really uncomfortable question that I think every single fan needs to grapple with. We sit online and we analyze agency statements, and we get mad when companies don't protect our favorite idols. But as fans, we are the ones driving the metrics.
Exactly. We're the consumers.
We are the ones demanding 2 to 3 comebacks a year. We're the ones who want constant social media updates, behind-the-scenes vlogs, and daily live streams. And when a group goes on a 1.5-year hiatus to rest or prepare, the fandom gets angry, demanding new music and trending hashtags.
The demand for constant content creates the very schedule that breaks the artists. The agencies are simply providing the supply to meet that fandom demand.
Exactly. So, are we inadvertently fueling the very machine that is burning out our biases? At what point does an idol's humanity and right to simply rest outweigh the comeback schedule and our desire for entertainment? Are we asking these young adults to run a marathon that they just can't possibly finish? Is something to really think about the next time we demand a comeback.
It is a critical systemic question for both the industry executives and the consumers to grapple with moving forward. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss a KT update as we continue to track Billie's journey, the financial moves of mid-tier agencies, and hopefully Haruna's full and healthy recovery.
You've been listening to StarScope K-Report, where we bring you the stories shaping K-pop, K-dramas, and the global Hallyu wave. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.